So welcome to the Bike World 2017 end of year show. We're going to take a look back at what we've been doing this year. We're going to take a look back at what the industry in general has been doing in 2017. And then there'll be a little bit of a preview of what we hope to get up to in 2018 and indeed what we can expect from the bike industry in general. So January 2017 was all about Triumph for us pretty much. We shot over to the east end of London, climbed this really strange red tower and went for the preview of the 765 Street Triple. It wasn't all rain and misery though. Towards the end of the month we flew out to Spain and rode both the Street Cup and the Scrambler. Scrambler was by far and away my bike of the two, and also looking at the sales success of both of those bikes throughout 2017, it seems to have really hit the right notes for you and for Triumph. It's all well and good when manufacturers decrease weight, increase power in an effort to make bikes appeal to guys like me and you more and more. But the one secret and key ingredient that's really hard to add to a bike when you're bringing out a new one is how they make riders look and feel. This bike makes me look cool and it makes me feel pretty awesome, to be fair. We've just had an amazing day, off-road, on-road, riding through rivers, scratching pegs. It really is a bit of a do-it-all kind of bike. And if you are that guy that lives in the middle of a city and you like to think that you're a little bit Steve McQueen, or you're not fussed about going absolutely balls to the wall everywhere, you might not know it now, but a quick test ride on one of these would show just how good this bike really is. Sticking with that retro theme, towards the end of January, Martin Fitzgibbons flew out to Almeria in Spain and rode the Scrambler Desert Sled from Ducati.
This isn't just another variant of the existing bike dressed up with some fancy bits out of the bulging accessories catalogue. This is a completely re-engineered Scrambler. It stands aside from the rest of the range. The only things it seems to have in common with the basic model is the engine, even though even that's been modified slightly, and the fuel tank. Everything else you see here pretty much is new.
So moving into February, launch season has found its feet. There's loads of new bikes coming out. We rode the new Suzuki GSX 750S. Ducati also launched the new Super Sport, and the biggest one for me in February was Chris Northover on the amazing looking 1200 GS Rally from BMW.
This is the new R1200 GS Rally that BMW has launched. They've brought out two versions this year. They've brought out the Exclusive, which is a touring, more luxury road focused version, and then this is the one we're really excited, the Rally, which is their more extreme off-road bike. The GS has all come with what they call a Pro Plug. There's this little red doodah here that's on the bottom of the seat, and it just gives you a bit more customization in the modes. You can have Dynamic Pro and Enduro Pro mode. It means if you turn the ABS and traction control off, when you switch the bike off and on, they stay however you wanted them. And it also gives us a little bit more adjustment to change the engine response from whatever's default to maybe a little bit more response, maybe a little bit less. Let's give it a go.
We're into March, maybe losing a base layer, things are starting to warm up, roads are a little bit drier in the UK. It didn't matter, we spent most of it abroad. I flew out to Catalonia and was lucky enough to ride the 765 Street Triple RS. Absolutely pissed it down, don't care. Bike was brilliant, got to ride at Catalonia, rode with a couple of TT racers, had a great time, a bit too wet for me, nah. We also took in the launch of the 1290 KTM Super Adventure, but Chris Northover lucky long-haired bastard that he is, got to jet out to Australia for the Suzuki GSX-R 1000 launch.
Finally, long last, been waiting a few years, Suzuki has brought out a new GSX-R 1000. The old bike was not rubbish. The old bike was a great bike and a lot of people loved it, but it's fair to say things have moved on. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Did you enjoy that?
That is absolutely awesome. That's our second session now on the GSX-R, and easy is probably the best word. I mean, Phillip Island, I've never been here before. What a challenging track. Ups, downs, blind corners, so fast. But with this bike, you can just get going straight away. You're not thinking about, oh, when's the power going to come in, or how's it going to behave on the brakes. Just everything so far has been easy, stable, predictable, and the power is incredible. But again, there's no leap, there's no sudden surge. Everything's just really linear. So yeah, nothing but praise for it so far. And a few more sessions this afternoon on some stickier tyres, so we'll be able to push the chassis a bit harder and do some more skids.
So in April, Yamaha proved that they were no fools, scooping the Best of the Best award from Red Dot for the design of the XSR 900. I did the launch of that bike. I used my own money to buy that bike. I still love them now. A retro big hitter for me. Another busy month for launches. KTM launched the 125 and 390 Dukes. We finished April with Ducati going back to basics with the Monster 797.
This is the new Ducati Monster 797, a true bike designed as a gateway drug into the Ducati family. It's a welcome return also as an entry-level Ducati which has had a 2-year hiatus. As a first-time rider, I would definitely give this bike a serious look. It's going to take care of all your needs as you build your confidence and you build your experience in the motorcycling world. And before you know it, you're going to be eyeing up that 1200 Monster.
May was a busy one for us. The Bike Shed, which we're filming in today, they had their show at Tobacco Dock. I got to ride this weird electric bike, the Zero SR. Massively embarrassed for calling it electronic all the way through that review rather than electric. We also went off to Wales and got blown all over the side of the hill, riding on the DRE, the off-road version of their track riding experience on the 1200 Multistrada. So May was an interesting time for me personally as well. This isn't a plug, I don't get paid for doing this. I done wrote a book. There I am there. Ghost wrote and worked with John McGuinness on his life story. Aside from the book, aside from the fact that you need to buy one for Christmas, it gave me a real insight into how Honda are dealing with Fireblade and the issues that they have or haven't been having with ride-by-wire throttles, transmission issues. I've seen thousands and thousands of forum ninjas, internet experts, all laying claim to knowing exactly what's going on with that bike. I rode on the press launch in January out in Portimao. The bike was a beauty. I really enjoyed riding it. And in my opinion, based on what I understand about Fireblade, and I've hung around with Mr. Fireblade for a year putting this together, the road bike is perfect. The race bikes are flawed. Whether or not we'll see Hutchie and General Lee Johnston going well on them next year remains to be seen. I hope for both of their sake that their bike is as good as they hope it is. Time will tell. If you're sat at home or you're sat on YouTube and you think that I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to sports bikes, and the Fireblade in particular, I've seen some pretty cheeky comments on YouTube. I definitely do know what's going on because I've heard it from the horse's mouth. I know what's going on with that bike. So industry rumours carried on into June. It was all about Ducati this time. Thanks to that emissions scandal that they had over at Volkswagen, it looked like they were looking to ditch some of their assets, maybe sell Ducati off in a bid to save some of the money that they were having to pay the bills with. Harley-Davidson seemed to be in the running for a little while, but we couldn't really find any firm answers in either camp. We just thought we'd wait and see what happened. As it turned out, Ducati are still very much part of the VAG family, and at the minute there doesn't appear to be any sign of them being sold anytime soon. So in June we also saw the Tempest 2, two guys on Triumph setting off to the Sahara from Borough Market, I think, in London. Interesting trip. You can keep up with what they're doing on the Bike World YouTube channel. Speaking of the Bike World YouTube channel, the producer also decided to take a holiday. Funny old thing, he went on his own out for the launch of the Ace Cafe in Orlando, Florida.
Last time we were in London and the show brought you what was coming in Orlando. I've now gone native, come here to Orlando, and the place is now open. Ace Cafe Orlando. It's the bikes, the cars, and the music. And I know that the cameraman here, Alan, he's having a hard time with the music because it's just everywhere. Similarly to the cafe in London, immediately behind the place, we've got a river in London. Here they've got a railroad. And that railroad, you've got the, I think it's called the Sun Valley or something like that, trains that trundle through here. It's cool. North London, yeah, we've got the Ace, a home for all of us who love basically motors and things that make noise and have rubber wheels. And there's loads of us all over the world. So there's an Ace in, may seem bizarre, in Beijing. There's an Ace in Finland. There's an Ace in Switzerland, in Luzerne. There's an Ace in Barcelona. But this interest in motors is not just confined to North London. It's all over the world, and effectively what Ace has become is the excuse for a home for those of us who just love these motors and the noise they make and the smells they produce.
So in July it was time for the Fast Bikes magazine shootout for their Sports Bike of the Year. Those guys actually shot it back in May. Bike World were out in Portimao with them to see it all unravel. Thanks to the glory and beauty of print, we had to wait until July to see the result of their test. It gave us an awesome opportunity to go out and film those guys doing what they do best, riding beautiful bikes in the sunshine on a fast track.
So on Spotty, what happens is they test all the bikes, and then at the end of day one, they get their top 3 bikes. After that, they put them on Bridgestone slicks. Al basically takes them out and rinses them as fast as he can, and whichever bike is the fastest, whichever bike handles the best, whichever one he enjoys the most, is ultimately Sports Bike of the Year. So there we have it, 2 days of testing at Portimao, 8 of the best sports bikes you can buy.
The 8 best.
The 8 best. Down to the top 3, Yamaha R1, GSXR 1000R, and 2015 winner, RSV.
And 14 and 13 and 11, 12, yeah.
In third place, what's he going to be?
Yamaha R1M.
And why?
Just comes short. His lap time let it down. There's no particular reason why other than the brake, really.
Second place then is between the Aprilia and the Suzuki. Drum roll. In second.
It's going to be the Suzuki.
Really?
I mean, again, this is, forget the Yamaha for a second. Those 2 bikes are the best bikes of 2017, bar none.
Come on, let's go and have a look.
Yes, you know, the looks and certain amount of the sort of feel of the bike, you could say it's a bit too close to the old bike, but when you ride it, it's nothing like the old bike. It's nothing like it.
I think that the best feature on this bike is the engine.
Yeah.
Like it just gives you a sense of like you are holding onto a beast. It's ballistic.
The RSV winner again.
Aprilia said this would be 1 second quicker than the old bike, and they're bang on. It's a second quicker.
It's up to its game, hasn't it?
It's up to its game. Every little bit of the bike is better. You know, the engine is sort of USP centerpiece.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful engine as well. I mean, you get that wrapped up in it. You're up by the limiter before you know it, and you throw another gear at it, and it goes again. You know, there's no hang-ups. It just plows on through everything, and I mean, it's beautiful out of corners as well. You know, the slower corners, the second gear corners, or whatever. You know, you can depend on that grunt from low down, and it will just carry you all the way through. And that, especially around here, where there are a lot of slower sections that lead onto fast straights or whatever. That's what you need. You need a bike that's going to punch out of corners, and that's exactly what this one does. And I think that, combined with an amazing handling package,
it's the best handling bike out there, without that.
And that quick shifter and down blipper,
they are really good.
So sweet. The noise, it's a little bit more restrictive with this big can on it, but you still get the feel of that noise, don't you? And with an exhaust, it'll be amazing. And technically, it is now the most powerful
Euro 4
litre bike that we've tested by a good couple of horsepower.
It feels like it as well.
So there you have it, Aprilia RSV4 RF is back on top, Sports Bike of the Year for 2017. Make sure you join us next week for more bike action.
August was Benjamin from Fast Bike's chance to go back to the California Superbike School. If you haven't been, it's worth a look. If track riding is new to you, it's definitely worth a look. Any kind of track-based tuition, I think, is worth its weight in gold when it comes to figuring out where you're going right and wrong on track. California Superbike School are definitely leading the way when it comes to making you faster. Sticking with Ducati, we also rode the Scrambler 62, an A2 license-friendly 400cc version of the massively popular Ducati Scrambler.
When the first Scrambler concepts hit trade shows, I was well into my obsession with getting a bike. I was excited for the fact that it was an entry-level Ducati, because it's one of those brands you always hear about when you're growing up, and you wonder if you'll ever get a chance to ride one. So when it actually came out and it was 883cc, 75 horsepower, it meant I couldn't ride it, so I was gutted. But fast forward 2 years, and you've now got the 62. With a 400cc L-twin 2-valve engine, making a comfortable 41 horsepower, it's well within my ability to ride it as an A2 license holder. Ducati are breaking a bit of new ground here by suggesting that an entry-level bike doesn't have to be budget, and it doesn't have to be a second-hand shitter you've got from someone's shed. But with Ducati's Tri-Options Finance, this bike is accessible, even for a cheap ass like me.
So in August, BJ also put together a really interesting modified versus standard Yamaha MT-10 review. I've done plenty of miles on that bike. It's a beauty. It's not just a one-trick wheelie pony. The popularity of that video showed that it was worth focusing on exactly what works with that bike, buying the SP or modifying the standard version to suit what the SP is supposed to be able to do. Great piece of video and worth a watch. September was all about extremes. At the smaller end of the scale, we had the GSX-R125 from Suzuki launched at Silverstone, and at the big, fast, pointy end, the guys from Fast Bikes did a sweet comparison of R1M and the BSB version at Cadwell Park. October was a great chance to celebrate the 25-year anniversary of two iconic brands from Honda, Fireblade on 2 wheels and Type R on 4 wheels. We also rode the 1299 Panigale Final Edition, and we enjoyed spending the day with the 950 Multistrada and the Yamaha MT-09 Tracer. So Aaron, start of the day, you had your pick of the bikes, so you plumped for the bike that looked the easiest to manage, so you went for the Yamaha.
Sure.
And it was a seat height based decision we were talking about at the petrol station. So how did you feel first couple of miles on the Tracer?
Oh, it felt absolutely fantastic, really predictable, really easy to ride, really easy to get used to. The power delivery is just silky smooth, it's dead nimble, feels lightweight. You could just jump on that bike and just ride it with total confidence, in my opinion.
And I think one of the key, or one of the strongest points for that bike is definitely that motor, that CP3 triple inline,
Sure.
115 horsepower. It's skinny, the revs are easy to get out, like you said, the fueling's really good. I think it makes more riders feel more at home sooner than the layout that the Multistrada has. You know, you were just talking about smoothness, and it just made me think about the suspension on the Multistrada.
Oh man, I mean that is like riding a magic carpet.
Yeah, it is a super smooth thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
Both bikes have got adjustable suspension, but there's just something about the quality of ride that you get on the brakes, on the gas, you know, turning in pretty much everywhere. Ducati suspension, front and rear, for me, miles better than the Tracer. The question that I could do with answering is the 950 Multistrada worth the premium over the 900 Tracer?
But the price is, obviously, it's a factor, it's a consideration. Having said that, in every way the Multistrada is, you know, you can see that extra £2,000, you know, the switch gear, the bits like the mirrors, the finishing, it is a beautiful, beautiful machine.
Yeah. As it has been for me over the last 10 or 12 years working as a journalist, November is all about the NEC show, Motorcycle Live. Standout bikes for me this year, the supercharged H2 SX, the V4 Panigale, which we'll be riding in January in Valencia. Thankfully for you guys, it will be Chris Northover doing the skids, not me. He's miles better than I am at that bit. Really looking forward to seeing how that bike goes. Also the Nikon from Yamaha. Regardless of how you say Nikon, and there was this huge long-running thread of replies on the Bike World YouTube channel about how to pronounce it. The bike itself, we can call it a technical marvel. I think it might change a few opinions next year about bikes with three wheels. It's certainly going to change mine because I don't really have one yet. That bike caught my attention. Whether or not it's as good or as bad as I think it might be is regardless until we've ridden it. A few honourable mentions from me as well, bikes that we didn't film on the show but I rode in my capacity as the editor over at Superbike. I'm going to start with the BMW K1600 GT Bagger. Murdered out 150 mile an hour lunacy. It's essentially a BMW X5M on two wheels. I know there's a new Goldwing coming in 2018, but 2017, BMW bagged it, definitely. If you're a drug dealer and you like going fast and you like motorbikes, that's the one to go for. I also did 1,300 miles on the Honda Africa Twin. One of the things I like the most about that bike is the fact that it isn't a GS. I love GSs, but it was quite nice to ride something that wasn't a BMW. Honda nailed it. I rode the DCT clutchless version. Like I said, I did nearly 1,400 miles up and down the UK. Really enjoyed the time that I spent on it. And if you still haven't had a chance to go and test ride one, that for me was one of the, not necessarily the standout bikes of the year, but it was the one that caught me out. I jumped on it not really knowing what to expect, really enjoyed the time that I spent on it. So that's it, another year wrapped up. You're a few days away from Christmas, as we are too. We're looking forward to having a few days off. That said, we've already started riding bikes for next year. We've already started planning features for next year and faces for next year. You'll see a few old faces and there'll be a couple of new faces on the show as well. We've planned to ride some shit bikes, build some shit bikes. We're going to try and break a record in 2018 as well. Not sure exactly what that is. And hopefully we'll be able to go and enjoy some sun riding in places like the Isle of Man, maybe the Nürburgring, and a few trips into Europe. So it's a quick chance to thank you guys. We've logged thousands of hours of video views on YouTube, millions of views over thousands of hours. We really do appreciate all the support that you give to us online and on the TV show.